Hey everybody, Ron Metchis here again. A couple of days ago I was contacted by a fella by the name of Ron Lamy. He told me that he had a piece of NWA 13855 that was all rusted up on him. And he saw the video I made about a year ago that some similar pieces I had derusted and put through the electrolysis tank and whatnot. And he's asked me to take his and do the same thing. So it came in the mail the other day. So we're going to go through the process of removing the rust, polishing, re-etching, and restoring the piece, I hope, to some better state. So let's get to it and see how this goes. All right, got the box here. I've already started cutting it open. Let's do the other half here. Be careful because my blade's a little dull. I don't want to slip and slice my own hand. That would not be good. All right. There. There. And along here. There we go. That should do it, I believe. Yeah. All right, that's got it there. Let's get her open and see what this thing looks like. These postal boxes are very well constructed. The glue on here is crazy tight. There we go. All right, let's go ahead and open this one up and see what we have here. Now, I got this one from Ron. This is not one I've done in the past, although I did several for Topher Spinato about a year ago. This is the same material. So we're going to try and recreate that, only better this time because I don't think I did my best job last time. But look at all that rust on there. That is way more than what Topher had on his. He had just little lines of rust within the grains. So we're going to have to throw this into the tank. I'm guessing maybe a week or two, but we'll figure that out once we get into the process. Now this also has a coating on it. What I use is automotive clear coat. Now this coating, I have no idea what it is, but we're going to remove it with some acetone. That'll be our next step, of course. So I think we're good to go, and we'll just see how this comes out. All right, so here we are out in the garage, all set up to do the coating removal. Now I have my multimeter here. I'm going to check if there's any continuity whatsoever through this piece. If there was, you would see a 0 on the meter and you'd hear a tone like that. So apparently there's a pretty good coating on there and there's no continuity on that side. Flip it over. Oh, there's some there. Sort of. Okay, but for the most part, there's no continuity. All right, so we're going to use some acetone to take the coating off. So let's get to that. Turn this off and run the battery down. Side. I'm working on a hard piece of old ceramic tile here just because it gives me a good working surface. All right, let's get some acetone on the rag and go to town. Okay. The acetone will actually take off some of the rust, but not a lot. This is surface stuff. And I'll check in a minute for continuity. The reason for removing the coating is because when I put this in the electrolysis tank, I have to have good electrical contact between the wire that I'm going to suspend this with in the solution and the meteorite itself. It creates an electric current that goes through the electrolyte, and that's what causes the rust to be removed. So this is a pretty necessary step in the process. And you don't have to remove it all, just pretty good, because the electrolysis process will also take off any coating that's left on there. That's shining it up kind of nice too. Taking off some of the haze. All right, let's see how we're doing. We're just going to listen for the beep. That's all I really care about. Oh yeah. That was pretty easy. That side's done. Okay, that's all there is to it. This is a box of all the parts I used to put the system together, but we're going to use this iron wire right here and all this other stuff, wires, a couple clamps, a couple graphite plates, and this is the tank we're going to use. I'm not going to explain the use of all this. I've done this many, many times. You can see my other videos for that. We have to cut a length of this wire to wrap around the meteorite. So let's get to that first. Okay, we'll cut off, I don't know, maybe that much wire. It's probably overkill, but that's plenty. That aside. All right, we'll just make a few bends around this thing. Yeah, that's all it takes. That should be plenty. So make sure it's good and tight. And twist it up. Make sure it's hooked on there really, really good. Now we're going to lose some bits and pieces off this thing. It's just inevitable. It can't be helped. Okay, we've got it all wrapped up. That's pretty good. Let's check the continuity between the wire and the meteorite. Just make sure good contact. Okay, checking contact. Okay, looks like we've got good electrical contact, so we're good to go there. Let's set the tank up. All right, we're all set up here. I've got my power supply connected to the two graphite plates. The positive side goes to these. That's the anode. The cathode is set to the black, which goes to the negative supply. Got the water in there. The meteorite is hanging off the copper. I'm getting ready to put the electrolyte in. And notice right here, there's very little current. We got 12 volts. 607 amps. If I put this in, you'll see current start to flow. Just a little bit. There it goes. Mix it up a little bit. Alright, so that's about, half an amp. I'll keep this at an amp. That should do it. 0.9, a tad more. I cut up the voltage, but I like to keep the voltage at, there we go. Okay, 1.05. Everything's a go. Now we should be seeing bubbles coming off of all the cathodes and anodes. So let's take a close look at that. Here we see the bubbles forming on one of the graphite plates. And go over to the other one, there's also bubbles forming there, so things looking good. Now the meteorite is also showing bubbles, so we have good conduction of the current, and the other side is also there, so I think we are good to go. So now it's just a matter of waiting a week, 2 weeks. We'll figure it out as we go along. Make a decision later on. Alright, so it's been about a week now, and the piece has been fizzing 24/7. So we're going to turn it off today and probably start processing, polishing, and whatnot. So let's see what it looks like. As you can see, it's still bubbling. Now at the cathode, we're producing hydrogen. At the anodes, we're producing oxygen. So, just a little science for you. And now let's go ahead and take the piece out and see what it looks like. Alright, let's turn the power supply off. Not going anymore. Disconnect the wires. And here we go. So you can see it's kind of black. That's the graphite being deposited on the piece due to the electrolysis. But the rust is completely gone. Take this out of here. Don't need that. Alright, there we go. That's better. Alright, so let's undo the wire. Clean up a little bit. That black comes right off. That's not a problem. Most of it will rub off. The rest of it will sand off. Alright, let's take the wires off. So I need a pair of wire cutters here. We'll just snip them off. 2 and 3. Okay. And then back. It comes right off. That one. there's that one. Alright, so there's the piece. It is now rust-free. It just now got a bunch of graphite on it. You can see it's coming off of my fingers. It just rubs off mostly. Some of it's going to have to be sanded off, but that's part of the polishing process. So let's do that. I pulled out my piece of ceramic tile again, give me a nice hard working surface. I've got some 4/0 steel wool, very fine stuff, just to take the surface off. So let's see what happens here. Okay, getting there. Now I do the sanding because this is such a small piece. It's all going to have to be done by hand. I can't use my orbital sander. It's just too small. Yeah, that looks a little better. Okay. Good. All right, on to the sanding. For starters, we're going to use some 400 grit paper. We're just going to sand it until it's got a good matte finish on it. Here's the results of 400 grit sandpapering. You see there's some very fine scratches. Those will work out as we get finer and finer. Both sides are now graphite free and rust free. So we're making progress. Next step is going to be 800 grit paper. Well, next we're going to go on to 800 grit paper. So let's get on with that. We polished up a lot better. Finer and finer. Alright, here's the results after 800 grit paper sanding. This is getting shinier now. You can start to see reflections. So scratches are slowly coming out. So we're getting there. Looking pretty good, actually. So next we're going to do 1500. Alright. We're done with 800. Now we're going to move on to the 1500 grit paper. And because it's starting to get a little smoother, I'm going to put a piece of paper underneath here because I don't want any grit getting underneath this slice and scratching the surface. Something I've found happens once in a while. So this should help alleviate that. So let's go move on here. Okay, it's already getting shiny. Oh my, look at that. It's amazing. This is one side with the 1500 pretty much complete. See, we're getting a lot more reflection. This is about as high as I'm going to take this because if I go too high, then when I go to etch it, the acid has nothing to grab onto because of the smoother surface. So this is about where we're going to leave it. I'll polish a little bit more, get a little more on the other side. And then we're going to go on to etching. So let's keep on going. All right, the 1500 grit etching is done. One side is very reflective. There's the other side, and they're pretty much equal. So this is as high as we're going to take it. So let's move on to the etching process. Getting ready to do the etching. This is my typical setup. I have a big container to contain any fluids, water, acid, etc. There's the piece right there. Yellow container is going to have the ferric chloride in it, which is this stuff right here. Now to neutralize any acid that I need to, I have some baking soda right there. Of course, to handle all this, I'll be wearing some gloves. I'm going to use this little brush right here to brush on the acid. And these containers over here are just empty right now. I'm going to be putting some distilled water in there so I can wash the acid off at various points in the process. So let's get started. So in addition to wearing the gloves, which are these, I'm wearing a chemical vest. My wife says if I screw up another t-shirt, she's going to kill me. So, vest. Also, it's just good safety practice. Okay, time to etch the piece. Alright, so here we got basically nice shiny surface. That's how we start. It's actually down to about 2,000 grit. I took a little extra deep, the grit. here we go. Now this happens pretty quickly. Okay, it's already coming up. There's one side. And the other. Oops. All right, that's all it takes. That is the etching process. It's literally can be seconds. Okay. Let's rinse it off, see what we have. And that's it. Nice and etched. Now the next thing I want to do is to neutralize any leftover acid. So that's where the sodium, or the baking soda comes in. All right, let's put a little more water in there. Probably shouldn't have dried it off. Kind of redundant. All right, now, the amazing thing about the baking soda is it really works fast. Here, let's just pour it on. And just rub it in. Neutralizes any acids. You can see the acid in the water turning brown. It's amazing what's going to happen when I put it in that vat over there. It's going to froth and produce carbon dioxide. Okay. All right, let's put some on this side. So we want to rub this in really well, make sure it completely gets out any leftover acids. Don't want this thing to re-etch after I coat it, or even rust. So I'm going to make sure it's really, really in there. So working into all the little veins, little cracks, and then we wash it out once we're done. Very important part of the process. Go ahead and do more water. Okay, I'm going to do it over the yellow bucket because it's got to be neutralized anyway. Yeah, look at all that foaming. That's amazing. I love looking at that. Okay. And there it is. All it takes to etch it. Everything else is just leading up to this 1 or 2 minutes of etching. Now after neutralizing the acid, drying the piece, it's time to apply the coating. So I'm using this automotive clear coat, so let's go ahead and do it. It's already shaken up. Just a quick spray for the top, all sides. This takes about half an hour to dry. 50 minutes, half an hour, and we'll come back and do it again. All right, first side is done, looking pretty good. Now we're going to flip it over, and we're going to do the other side. So let's get to it here. It's a little magnet stand I built just for this kind of reason, so nothing seeps underneath. Okay. Make sure you get all 4 sides. All right, I'll let this dry. And that should do it. Well, after second application of the clear coat, the piece is done. Completely rust free. Got hopefully a good protective layer on there. Both sides are completely etched and sealed. So I think we're done.